Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday to you on this November 17th, 2025. I got all of your stories for your rush hour ride to work, and it's a wild one for you today. There was a celebrity breakup over the weekend, that being between Marjorie Taylor Greene and President Donald Trump, and it is ugly. I'm going to share the messages, the tweets, the truths, his anger at Marjorie for betraying him, all because she wants to be a part of the coalition that is demanding the Epstein files get released. It's wild stuff. We'll actually share what might be his strategy moving forward to prevent those files from being released, as he says he now wants to investigate Democrats that are in the Epstein files. So we're going to get in this whole story. Marjorie Taylor Greene went on the news over the weekend. She actually apologized to CNN for contributing to the toxic culture that led to her needing to get private security. This is insane what I'm going to be sharing with you guys. We'll have that. Plus the iPhone sock that's going for $130. You heard that right. There is a sock. You put your iPhone in it. I should get my own. I could get Kirkland socks from Costco. I'll just cut a hole in it for your sock. But we'll get into that story. And then Justice for Clayton, we've got an update there as County Prosecutor Rachel Mitchell actually explains why she decided to pursue charges against Laura Owens. Again, our community responsible for exposing the fraud, which has led to 14 felony charges against her. There's a lot of updates, so stick around for that story. We'll have that on the back half of the show, as we're literally hearing from people across the world that are interested in producing documentaries. It is not if, but when and how much it'll take to get that done. It will be happening. We got those updates. And then Catholic bishops do not stand for what is happening with ICE. I'm going to share a very powerful video as they have now come together to talk about how there is a lot of unethical behavior going on. They don't stand for it. We'll see if their audience stands for it. All these stories and more starts right now on The Rush. So where do we even begin on this wild Marjorie Taylor Greene story? As you guys know, she is one of several Republicans that have agreed to sign on to the motion, which is going to hopefully lead to the Epstein files getting released. It has to go get approved through the House. Then the Senate has to look at it, and then Trump can still veto it. But if it gets to that point, oh boy, that'll be a bad look. Donald Trump says, I am withdrawing my support and endorsement of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. He put Congresswoman in quotation marks. That's what old people like to do. They like to misuse their punctuation. From the great state of Georgia, over the past few weeks, despite my creating record achievements for our country, including a total and complete victory on the shutdown, closed borders, low taxes, no men and women's sports or transgender for everyone, ending DEI, stopping Biden's record-setting inflation, and the list goes on and on, which again, it's just absolute wild out there because no one's feeling the results of any of his achievements when it comes to economic success. Everyone's paying more for groceries. And that's really what matters right now, is how expensive things are getting out there. So he talks about how the country's become the hottest. He says, I can't take a ranting lunatic's call every day. I understand that wonderful conservative people are thinking about primarying Marjorie in her district of Georgia, that they too are fed up with her and her antics, and if the right person runs, they will have my complete and unyielding support. She has gone far left, even doing The View with their low IQ Republican-hating anchors. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. So, has Trump lost the plot? That's the big question. And I know we try not to start our Monday morning episodes with politics because it's a lot to dive into, but this is the top story in the country right now. Not Marjorie Taylor Greene, but she's like very significant within the MAGA movement. She is someone that has been so loyal to Trump, and she has done mental gymnastics to bend her moral will in the direction of whatever he wants. And she's done with it because it crossed her hard line, which is, why are we supporting and not releasing the Epstein files? Why are we supporting pedophiles? That's really what it comes down to. Oh, but that's only the beginning. So then he goes and says the Epstein hoax. He keeps on talking about this as a hoax, despite the Department of Justice releasing 50,000 pages of documents in order to deflect from all their bad policies, the shutdown embarrassment. He says some weak Republicans have fallen into their clutches because they are soft and foolish. Epstein was a Democrat. He is the Democrats' problem, not the Republicans. Ask Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, and Larry Summers about Epstein. They know all about him. Don't waste your time with Trump. I have a country to run. Now listen. The Epstein Files is the greatest conspiracy of our time, and that's why it's so interesting to cover this, because there's this knowledge as we cover it that we are living through the history books right now. This is not hyperbole, folks. This is wild. And the cover-up may be, I hate to say maybe bigger than the crime, because the crimes themselves are heinous. How far Trump is involved in the crimes versus his desire to cover up, yet to be seen. And that's really what it all comes down to is, well, this was such a problem, why not just release all the information? And the 23,000 new documents that came out have thousands of pages that mention Trump in different ways. So nobody, and I mean this, nobody is taking Trump's bait on this one. Nobody. So he continues. And this is when Donald Trump is starting to open mic workshop the different smears he's having against Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? Sleepy Joe Biden, whatever, cross-eyed Chris, whatever, he loves alliteration. He's a poet, really, whether you like him or not. And he says, lightweight Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Brown. Green grass turns brown when it begins to rot. Betrayed the entire Republican Party when she turned left, performed poorly on the pathetic View, and became the rhino, aka Republican in name only, that we all know she always was. Just another fake politician, no different than Rand Paul Jr., Thomas Massey, who got caught being a full-fledged Republican in name only. Make America great again. Now, we don't even have time to get into all the craziness, but Donald Trump threw shots at Thomas Massey's new woman, his new wife, even though his wife of many decades passed away last year. I mean, we can't even get into all of the crazy. Donald Trump even tweeted that he's not going to allow overweight people to seek citizenship in the United States, and then mentioned Rosie O'Donnell by name. He said, if you're an expatriate, you will not be allowed back in if you're overweight. What? This is insane. This is insanity. So we continue. Trump then says Marjorie Traitor Greene is a disgrace to our great Republican Party. I have to say, of all of the insults, Marjorie Traitor Greene is probably better than Marjorie Taylor Brown. But hey, this is why you got to workshop it, right? Now, of course, we laugh because we cannot cry. It's a terrible reality to be a part of. Marjorie Taylor Greene responds with this. Mind you, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the only crime she has committed here is speak out against Donald Trump. But as you've seen with the regime, and it is a regime, when you speak out, you then have to live with the consequences of him sicking his army on you. The only question now is his army willing and ready to pick up arms and fight for him? It's a dwindling time out there for this army. They're exhausted. They're trying to, put food on the table. And the army is not there when the economy isn't. I'm now being contacted by private security firms with warnings for my safety as a hotbed of threats against me are being fueled and egged on by the most powerful man in the world. The man I supported and helped get elected. Aggressive rhetoric attacking me has historically led to death threats and multiple convictions of men who are radicalized by the same type of rhetoric being directed at me right now, this time by the President of the United States. As a woman, I take threats from men seriously. I now have a small understanding of the fear and pressure that women who are victims of Jeffrey Epstein and his cabal must feel. As a Republican who overwhelmingly votes for Donald Trump's bills and agenda, his aggression against me, which also fuels the venomous nature of his radical internet trolls, many of whom are paid, this is completely shocking to everyone. My phone is blowing up with constant amazing support. I'm so thankful. The political industrial complex and the toxic, violent nature of American politics must end. Our country is worth saving, and it can only be done if we pull together and save ourselves. Marjorie Taylor Greene, aka Marjorie Traitor Greene, or Marjorie Taylor Brown, or Marjorie Traitor Brown, whatever you want to call her, she is getting a lot of love and support from those that she would have considered her enemy. Because, an enemy of my enemy is my friend, is the idea, right? Now, this is what annoys me, is that it takes someone like Marjorie being the victim of someone like Donald Trump to then empathize with the other half of the country who has seen January 6th play out and has seen him go against all of his enemies to the point where plenty of them just want to leave the country. It sucks that it has to get to this point, but hey, you know what? Here we are. So she said she stood with Trump when no one else would. Now she's going scorched earth. Let's have a listen.
I stood with President Trump when virtually no one else did. Campaigned all over the country, spent millions of my own dollars helping him get elected. And I think that's incredibly important. And I do support him and his administration. And I support them in delivering the campaign promises we made to the American people. His remarks, of course, have been hurtful. However, I have something in my heart that I think is incredibly important for our country, and that is to end the toxic fighting in politics. And this has been going on for years, and it has divided our country, split up friends and families, neighbors, and it's not solving our problems. The most hurtful thing he said, which is absolutely untrue, is he called me a traitor, and that is so extremely wrong. And those are the types of words used that can radicalize people against me and put my life in danger.
You know, but it's also the same thing that Trump's own government said about Obama. He essentially called Obama a traitor, right? They said that he committed treason. Wouldn't that be something a traitor would do? So there isn't a word in the English language they're not willing to use in order to go after people that just disagree with them on policy ideas. You should be able to disagree with the president on tariffs. Literally everybody does. They're not helping Americans.
What do you think happened? What do you think is the reason for this?
Unfortunately, it has all come down to the Epstein files, and that is shocking. And, you know, I stand with these women. I stand with rape victims. I stand with children who are in terrible sex abuse situations, and I stand with survivors of trafficking and those that are trapped in sex trafficking. And I will not apologize for that. I believe the country deserves transparency in these files, and I don't believe that rich, powerful people should be protected if they have done anything wrong. And so I'm standing with the women, and I will continue to do my small part to get the files released.
And by the way, on behalf of literally everyone on the left, if Bill Clinton is in those files, lock him up with everybody else. Give him a fair trial and then throw away the key, right? This isn't a partisan issue for most people, but again, he might have a lot to lose. Take a quick break. When I come back, I have more of what Marjorie Taylor Greene had to say, and then we're going to share what some of her colleagues have to say about this. The Rush Hour is sponsored by Masterclass. With Masterclass, you can learn from the best to become the best. What better gift this holiday season? I actually gifted Masterclass to a family member who was looking to add some levity to life. I gifted her Amy Poehler's class about applying the principles of improv to your life. With Masterclass, you get thousands of bite-sized lessons across 13 categories that can fit into even the busiest of schedules. With plans starting at $10 a month, billed annually, you get unlimited access to over 200 plus classes taught by the world's best business leaders, writers, chefs, and more. And there's no risk. Every new membership comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Masterclass always has great offers during the holidays, sometimes up to as much as 50% off. Head over to masterclass.com/rush-hour for the current offer. That's up to 50% off at masterclass.com/rush-hour. Masterclass.com/rush-hour. I've learned that how you sleep is just as important as how long you sleep, and Leesa really delivers on the how. Have I ever looked so well rested? My Reserve Hybrid mattress makes me feel like I'm staying at a 5-star resort. From night one, you'll feel the difference. Premium materials that deliver serious comfort and full body support no matter how you sleep. Leesa mattresses are meticulously designed and assembled in the USA for exceptional quality. Plus, they back it all up with free shipping, easy returns, and a 120-night sleep trial. Leesa has been tested and awarded Best Hybrid Mattress by New York Times Wirecutter and is exclusively featured on West Elm as their go-to mattress partner. Go to Leesa.com for the Black Friday Cyber Monday sale, plus get an extra $50 off with promo code RUSHHOUR. Exclusive for my listeners. That's LEESA.com. Promo code RUSHHOUR for 30% off mattresses plus an extra $50 off. Support our show. Let them know we sent you after checkout. Leesa.com. Promo code RUSHHOUR. So here we have Dana Bash saying, listen, I haven't heard you speak out about this problem before. Now that it's affecting you, seems pretty convenient, huh?
Posted on X that President Trump is, with his comments, fueling a, quote, hotbed of threats against you. Obviously, any threats to your safety are completely unacceptable. But we have seen these kinds of attacks or criticism from the president at other people. It's not new. And with respect, I haven't heard you speak out about it until it was directed at you.
Dana, I think that's fair criticism. And I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country.
Good golly, Marjorie Taylor Greene owning up to the toxicity that exists out there. Unbelievable. Look at the comments. Have we slipped so far that humanizing Marjorie Taylor Greene starts to feel right? Listen, she is a human. She, I believe, for the most part, doesn't take like corporate sponsorship money. She might not be the brightest crayon in the crayon box, but hey, I'll take it. I'll take the win where I can get it, which is build a coalition of people up that do want America first. But that doesn't mean corporate carve-outs to those that want to give Trump the biggest Rolex watch or, all of the, bending the knee that companies are doing so they get their tariff carves out. No, but if we really want to make America great through bringing back the economy, then that's what needs to happen. And she's realizing this. Marjorie Taylor Greene also talked about the fact that Air Force One needs to be parked. He needs to stay there and do his job. I mean, she's really, really calling him out. So the Epstein files, that's just a visual of not just the corruption that's going on, but it's a visual of it's like a real hard line for a lot of people. It's hard to talk about inflation and GDP and trends and jobs and whatnot because it's hard for everyone who's not affected by that to understand. But when they go to the grocery store, they see how much food is costing. When they see that Trump's building this huge ballroom and he doesn't have the time to be a part of releasing the Epstein files, but not just that, actively trying to punish people that are trying to protect or that are trying to do good by the victims. This is a hard line, and this might be what ends up, being the reason people flee from MAGA. It's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions. And I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another, and we need to figure out a new path forward that is focused on the American people, because as Americans, no matter what side of the aisle we're on, we have far more in common than we have differences. Yeah. And by the way, so now after she says that, of course, her colleagues, her peers are going to rally around her, right? Here's what Lauren Loomer had to say. Marjorie Taylor Greene continues her smears against President Trump this morning. She's hell-bent on trying to be accepted by the Democrats. She even apologized to Democrats this morning for engaging in toxic politics against the left. She is not America first. She's Marjorie Taylor Greene first. Now, it may be true that this is a convenient time for Marjorie Taylor Greene to separate herself from the toxicity of the Trump administration. Maybe that is true. But I tend to believe people, and I believe Marjorie Taylor Greene is actually seeing the effects of a brutal and violent situation that's going on in our country. And by the way, this is why Trump wants to continue talking about trans issues, culture war issues, because if he can keep you feeling fear, he keeps you from really doing your due diligence through critical thinking about what's going on in the country, right? If he can have you thinking about migrants coming in to steal your jobs, if he can have you thinking about all of the, the National Guard and ICE that's ripping people apart and focus on these other issues, then people don't have the time to talk about, what's really happening, which is the economy is not in a favorable spot. So not a good look for him. Now, Representative Thomas Massie, he's a libertarian-leaning Republican who's part of the very few that have actually sided with the Democrats in releasing the Epstein files. But he's saying, look, Trump wants to do a new investigation. Will this be Trump's way of saying we can't release the files? There's an active investigation. Have a listen.
The president's been saying this is a hoax. He's been saying that for months. Well, he's just now decided to investigate a hoax, if it's a hoax. And I have another concern about these investigations that he's announced. If they have ongoing investigations in certain areas, those documents can't be released. So this might be a big smokescreen, these investigations, to open a bunch of them as a last-ditch effort to prevent the release of the Epstein files.
And, by calling it out now, we'll have to see if that's what happens. I think the vote is supposed to be this Wednesday. Magic Mike Johnson said they were going to take a unanimous consent vote, which is, I believe, where they vote anonymously. And the Democrats said, no. We want everybody's name attached to whether they vote yes or no on this, which I think is the right thing to do. They are our representatives, and if they decide to vote against releasing these files, then we should know, and we should get them the hell out of office. So Marjorie Taylor Greene continues to talk about moving forward and, working together as a country. The people on the top, they do not want this. They want us to fight with each other. Remember, it's not left versus right, it's top versus down.
A situation where you and President Trump can make up? And if not, do you think you have a future in the GOP?
Well, I certainly hope that we can make up. And there's, again, I can only speak for myself. I'm a Christian, and one of the most important parts of our faith is forgiveness. And that's something I'm committed to. That's why I can easily come on your show that is watched all over the world, and I can say things I'm sorry for, and I can try to set an example of how I think we should move forward as Americans. And so, of course, on my end, I believe in that, and I certainly hope to see that happen.
I will not be holding my breath that her and Trump will be hanging out at the Rose Garden Pavilion or whatever. Will Marjorie Taylor Greene be invited to the Epstein ballroom? I don't think so. But at least, listen, when it really comes down to it, if you've been living under a rock, this first minute from Representative Stansbury does a really good job of explaining what's at stake here.
Let me just be clear about what this investigation is and why the president's cover-up of it is so disturbing. Jeffrey Epstein ran one of the largest sex trafficking enterprises in American history for decades. There are over 1,000 victims. We have personally heard their stories. We know that there are financial crimes involving multiple financial institutions. We know that the Department of Justice did not prosecute those crimes. We know that there was a cover-up at the Department of Justice, and we know that the co-conspirators, dozens of which are named in the DOJ's and FBI's files, actually call out and investigate those crimes. And the president has been ordered by Congress in a subpoena to release those files, and he has not complied. He is breaking the law, and he is covering things up. And he is in a rapid, degenerating tailspin trying to force his own members on his side of the aisle to try to help him cover up the files. And it just raises all kinds of questions.
A rapid, degenerative tailspin. That sounds about right. And I think, like I said, I think people see this from a mile away. I tell you what, I'm going to share a lot more of what's going on here. Then we'll have your update on Justice for Clayton. Take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to have another representative speaking out. This episode of the Rush Hour is sponsored by Veracity. Welcome to an all-natural way to slim down, get energized, and sharpen your focus. Veracity is revolutionizing health by tackling the root cause of so many issues, metabolism. With Veracity's drug-free, clinically proven, and doctor-formulated solutions, you can support your body's need to live your healthiest life. If your goal is weight loss, you need to try Metabolism Ignite, a natural, safe, plant-based aid that results in an 85% reduction in hunger and is clinically proven to lose on average 9 pounds in 90 days. I started Metabolism Ignite a couple weeks ago in just 2 capsules with breakfast. I feel energized and focused all day. Veracity is a unique blend of lemon, verbena, and hibiscus extracts, green coffee bean extract, and magnesium. Veracity doesn't just offer a quick fix for weight gain. The products actually help you maintain a healthier lifestyle. So make the switch to GLP-1s the natural way. Head to veracityselfcare.com during their Black Friday sale for up to 50% off your order. Once again, that's veracityselfcare.com for 50% off. You've got all of these people in the Republican Party that kind of want to be the next anointed leader after Trump's out of office. Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, they have been deathly silent since these 23,000 emails came out. This is going to be very painful for their political futures.
I think that this is all part of the Trump White House's cover-up of a massive an unprecedented child sex trafficking operation and another crime underway right now, which is the cover-up. Look at what Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, has been doing for months now. He's done everything in his power to postpone discussion of the Epstein files. Allegedly, next week we have a vote. I think he's going to lose complete control of his caucus. And I want to also point out something that I find very astounding and very alarming, which is that Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio have also said absolutely nothing about this. Since these 23,000 pages were released 2 days ago, they have been silent. They have not said one word. These are two top presidential contenders for the Republican Party for 2028. And I would give one piece of advice to them is that if you don't come out and call concern about the fact that Donald Trump is mentioned over 1,000 times in these documents and they haven't called for the release of these files, then that is going to be something that follows them in their careers.
And my thought is that they're staying quiet, hoping that this is the final demise of Donald Trump. We know J.D. Vance said that he was a bad guy, several years before. And Marco Rubio, when he was running against Trump, said the same thing. So they've silently bent the knee to him. And now their silence is showing that they're probably waiting to see what comes next. And then here's Thomas Massie again talking about the fact that there are at least 20 politicians, billionaires, and movie producers that are implicated criminally, and yet no one's faced any recourse here. So again, not left versus right at all. I don't care if you're Spielberg, he's not in it, I'm just saying as an example, or someone else. Like I've said, Bill Clinton or Bill Nye the Science Guy. Would I feel bad if it was Bill Nye? Yeah, my little piece of my childhood would be broken. But at the same time, we want the truth to come out, whoever that is.
Yeah, I don't have to guess at what's in the files. I've talked to the survivors through their lawyer, and we know there are at least 20 people in those files. There are politicians, billionaires, movie producers who are implicated criminally, who haven't been investigated. And it's up to the FBI, not the survivors and the DOJ, to release those names or at least to investigate them. And when I see Donald Trump announce a bunch of investigations, I don't see him going after these rich elites. I would remind my Republican colleagues who are deciding how to vote, Donald Trump can protect you in red districts right now by giving you an endorsement. But in 2030, he's not going to be the president, and you will have voted to protect pedophiles if you don't vote to release these files, and the president can't protect you then.
I mean, this is wild stuff, right? Absolutely wild stuff. And yeah, that's exactly right. It'll be on your record forever. Here's the update from Rachel Mitchell, county prosecutor, covering Laura Owens, who's now been charged with 14 felonies. The audio itself is kind of terrible. I'm going to play it for you, so I hope you guys can hear it. But I'll sum it up after we hear her speak.
I mean, just like anything else, we got some complaints about behavior, and we investigated it. And it was, borne out by the investigation that there were some really concerning criminal acts. Obviously, people who are innocent and guilty in court of law. And as we were doing the investigation related to Clayton Eckert, we found out that this was not the only victim. But the other parts of the investigation took a little bit longer. Keep in mind, we're trying to put together documents, finding medical records, etc., from other states sometimes. And so this is a really lengthy process. And so while we were prosecuting the Clayton Eckert charges, we were aware that there was another victim, and we were putting that investigation together. That came full bore a couple weeks ago, and we added 7 charges related to the second victim now. But yes, we are very popular on social media. I mean, I know something has happened when I wake up and I look at my Twitter and I see like the number 50 there, and I'm like, oh. Something's happened.
There it is. So Rachel Mitchell giving a shout out to the Justice for Clayton community. Now, Laura Owens will be upset by this and say, oh, see, they're targeting me. Well, the public felt there was an injustice. They had a grassroots effort to come together, thanks to our community, and all of those around us, when I say our community, I mean the whole Justice for Clayton community, to get Rachel Mitchell's attention and say, look into this. We're not just, because I'm sure a lot of people try to get her attention, but we had thousands of people. Thanks to Megan Fox, right? Megan Fox had the great idea to do the handwriting campaign where we write letters and just dump them. So she gets boatloads of letters from people saying, you need to pursue this. This is wrong. And because of that, they look into it and boom, 7 felonies. Then they look in a little bit more, boom, 7 more felonies. I'm still surprised that Rachel Mitchell hasn't charged Laura's mom, Jan Black, with any crimes. We'll have to see what they're finding on these devices. I actually had a nice phone call with somebody from the Law and Crime Network, and I might be on their show this week. We'll have to see how it all goes. They've got millions of followers, and documentarians from across the globe, I mean this, from across the globe, want to get their hands on this story. And all I'm going to say is this. I think when the time is right, there'll be a very good conversation that happens with all of the different victims coming together to put the story into one place where it can be told in a way that kind of, controls a lot of this chaos. Because Laura Owens is a tornado. She's a tornado of carnage and wreckage and false information and the medical fraud and all of that. And it has to kind of, all of the pieces have to be put together to tell this story in the right way. There's already a podcast documentary coming out in several months, which is being handled by very professional and very kind people that are going to do a fantastic job. If you're Laura Owens, you've got so many other big problems to worry about that I'm sure this is the least of it. She, of course, could spend years behind bars. I mean, it's an absolute wild time to be alive. And I don't want her to do that. All she has to do is admit what she did was wrong, right? But, she might not do that. Well, it's bad out there when all of the Catholic bishops have come together to denounce the ICE raids that are going on. And that's exactly what they've done. Something like 200 of them all came together. I think only 5 didn't want to be a part of it or something like that. And they basically had to say, look, this is not the direction we should be heading. Have a listen.
Pastors, we, the bishops of the United States, are bound to our people by ties of communion and compassion in our Lord Jesus Christ. And we are disturbed when we see among our people a climate of fear and anxiety around questions of profiling and immigration enforcement.
We are saddened by the state of contemporary debate and the vilification of immigrants. We are concerned about the conditions in detention centers and the lack of access to pastoral care.
We lament that some immigrants in the United States have arbitrarily lost their legal status. We are troubled by threats against the sanctity of houses of worship and the special nature of hospitals and schools.
We are grieved when we meet parents who fear being detained when taking their children to school, or when we try to console family members who have already been separated from their loved ones.
Despite obstacles and prejudices, generations of immigrants have made enormous contributions to the well-being of our nation. We as Catholic bishops love our country and pray for its peace and prosperity.
For this very reason, we feel compelled now in this environment to raise our voices in defense of God-given human dignity.
I mean, this is wild stuff. This is absolutely insane. Catholic Church, not exactly political, right? But here they're showing this is not what Jesus wanted when he said, love your neighbor. And when he talked about strangers and the progressive ideologies that existed with Jesus Christ. And I have to remind people, these immigrants that are here, those that have been naturalized or that have asylum or that, that have green cards, all the different sort of avenues that there are to gain citizenship or exist in our country, they've done nothing wrong. And they're not bad people for trying to live a life that, is better than the one they're coming from. There needs to be a sensible immigration system, but at the same time, just because they made it into this country doesn't mean they should be ripped apart for breaking the rules. And again, nothing that we are seeing right now will lead to your egg prices going down. Nothing we're seeing right now is going to make your world better or safer. It truly won't. And good to see some people coming together on behalf of their audiences and saying, no, this is wrong. Because when you talk to certain people, they say, yeah, the Pope is, he's a fake Pope. They're called. It's like if they don't like the opinions of the Pope, they call him a fake Pope. It's like, boy, people have chosen cult over religion. Indeed. We'll be back this afternoon. I'm out of time on the iPhone sock story. We'll get to it later. As always, I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.